Everybody, I'm with you at Strong Inspirations once again. Oh my God, I got a guy on here. He know everything. He know it all. He know it. He been there. He said, "Man, I know everything." I'm stretching it a little bit, but my God, man, this guy, he got a story that's gonna blow your mind. Watch, his story gonna blow your mind, and I know it is. Because when I was doing the research for my movie and the book, I guess it's in the movie, but I know it's in the book. It blew my mind, and and you would know the story because a lot of y'all kind of smart folk and stuff like that. Y'all follow Black history, and yeah, y'all been doing it before the channel came up, so you probably heard of this story he's gonna tell. I'm not gonna tell you what it is just yet, though. I'm gonna let him tell it. And then I'm gonna ask some questions. You know what I do here at Strong Inspiration. So come on and hit the subscribe button. Oh, by the way, my name is Anthony Brogdon. If you don't know me by now, you're gonna know me. That's who I am, and I'm just an ordinary guy trying to do something. And but let me get back to this here, right? Check it out. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. I don't know what you're waiting on. You sitting there, you watching all the videos, you up late at night. I know somebody sent me a message. They couldn't put it down. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, "You subscribed?" They said, "Not yet." I said, "It's free." It just let me know that you kind of, in on it. That's all it does. And if you don't do it, so what? I'm still happy with you. You still my people, right? And then hit the like button. And on this video in particular, if you don't like nothing else, like what my man about to tell you.
That's it.
Hit the notifications bell, because when the video come out, you get a little ding on your computer or something like that, and you can be the first to watch it. Then you can run out and blab to everybody this man's story and stuff like that, acting like you smart.
Yeah.
You just watched it on Strong Inspiration because you were smart enough to do that. That's the catch. And then, and this is easy, when you at the barber shop or at the beauty salon or wherever you at around your family, tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. Just say, hey, just mention, say, hey, this is how about, check it out, do it like this. Say, hey, I've been watching this YouTube video this guy got out. It's called Strong Inspirations. And he be having some pretty good stuff on there. Nice guy, and so on and so on. That's all you got to do. Then tell him, say, hey, check it out. All right, so do those things for me. I truly appreciate it. And how about this? I got a couple more things I really want you to do, tell you the truth, is watch my movie. I'm a filmmaker. I'm serious about my game, right? And it's called Business in the Black, The Rise of Black Business in America. And it's good. Not just because I did it, but I do believe it's good. I took it to a bunch of cities on my own dime. And let me give you an example. I showed it. I premiered it here in Detroit. And then I took it to Harlem, New York, and I showed it at this little documentary playhouse in Harlem, and 4 people showed up. I done paid the money and everything, and I'm sitting there and I'm tripping like, oh my God. That was on a Tuesday. On a Thursday, I had a show at the Harlem Y. I paid for that one too, right? It went from 4 people to 200 people. Somebody said something. So watch this. I guess that's because it was worth. They enjoyed it. So check out Business in the Black, my movie. That's the DVD. See, that's the DVD case, and all that kind of stuff. And but if you don't have a DVD player, it's streaming on Amazon, so you can just watch it, in your leisure or after you watch the video, right? And then I wrote the book, a Black business book. The movie got interviews with people whose family owned the business in the early 1900s. The book don't have them interviews, but it does have more facts. It's really very, very thorough. It's easy to read, because I ain't gonna lie to you, between you and me, I ain't no big reader. I do read some, but I ain't no big book reader. So this book was perfect for that. And if you like me, you'll really love it. And if you're a big book reader, it's even better for you, because you can read this and another book at the same time. It's one of them kind of things. I number the facts too, because if you, like the fact that he gonna talk about is in here, right? And you're gonna be like, man, I don't believe that. Yeah, well, watch out. You can go to the back of the book and you can find where I found it. So it's that easy, and it's really reasonable price. I ain't gonna tell you how much, but it's gonna blow your mind, right? And it's on Amazon too. And or if you really want to cut the big, the big Amazon man out, just go to my website, businessintheblack.net. Just go to the website. I appreciate that. They got to cut him out a little bit. And then check it out. I haven't said this in a while. I use that word strong a lot. Strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace.
Oh, yeah.
And with that, I'm going to introduce the strong brother that's sitting there smiling. He said, I'm a strong man too. Come on, let me tell my story. So, young man, introduce yourself. Let's get started.
Well, my name is Ernest Porter. I live in a town called Louisa, Virginia. It's about 40 minutes outside of Richmond, Virginia, and probably about 30 minutes east of Charlottesville. So I'm in between Charlottesville, Virginia, and Richmond.
Is that where you were born?
No, I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay. And let me ask you this. Richmond is really one of them hotbeds for slavery.
Yeah, yes.
A lot went down in Richmond and that whole Virginia corridor. Do you feel it where you are in that town?
Oh, yes. It's a bunch of things that's happened in this town that people wouldn't believe that's still going on. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
And it's a bunch of historical stuff that happened back in days too, don't they?
Yes, because really to try to give I guess a little nugget to you. Actually, it's a proven fact that Kunta Kinte grave is right outside of Louisa in Spotsylvania County.
Whose grave?
Kunta Kinte.
Kunta Kinte, really?
Yes.
I thought that was like a fictional character, to tell you the truth.
I did too, but I did some research, and actually it's a grave out there. They didn't let it kind of grow up, but it's really outside of Spotsylvania County, not far off the golf course.
And so what happened was Alex Haley really wrote that as a true story. I mean, I'm sure you have lived a little bit here and there,
right.
But there was a guy who had a name and Kunta Kinte was it.
Yes.
My God.
Yes. Right outside of Louisa County in Spotsylvania County.
So he had to be a slave in that town, probably.
That's correct. That is correct.
Are there remnants of slave plantations in your city or something?
Yeah, it's a few down through Louisa County and Trevilian where they had the battlefields at. Yeah, there's still some things down there. Still got some of the old schools. Some of them are still standing. Actually, the one over in Goochland County, they just revitalized it a couple of years ago.
And so it's a school that was for slaves or black people?
Yeah, it's a first school that was just for blacks. They had one in what they call Mineral, Virginia, which is actually in Louisa County, and one in Goochland County.
Oh, okay. So now this Black history thing, is that what you do, or you just got a love for it, or?
I just got a love for it. I feel like this. I really feel like this. The more we start to look at the history and understand how we got to where we are, a lot of things become more clearer to you. Because what I found out that a lot of black people are frustrated, upset, stressed out over a lot of things, and a lot of it has to do because you have no direction. No sense of, okay, you ask yourself, well, why am I here? Why am I here? Why are things going this way for me? And a lot of it has to do with the past and things that your family, your ancestors have endured and got you here. You know what I mean? So now if you look at it from the Slave Act, then you go through the Jim Crow, then you go through all those redlining and all the other things that kept black people down, that all that stress level actually get transferred. It's a proven fact. It's in the DNA of offsprings. You know what I mean? Okay. So that all those things that we thought that we don't really realize in our subconscious that we have in us is still affecting us to this day.
I got you. Has there been have you done a background into your family?
I did some of it. I went back to, I think it was to the 1600s. Really? And I do know this much, and I'm still doing some work. It's a guy in Georgia. I can't think of the name now. I have to pull it up. He actually bought 3,000 slaves from Africa, and my family come out of those 3,000 that was in Georgia. Then they actually migrated up to South Carolina, North Carolina, then later on they moved into Philadelphia.
Really? Now, let me ask you this. This is kind of interesting. We're going to get to the story in a minute. How do you do that kind of research? I mean, you don't just go to DNA.com and that kind of thing. You go to the libraries and whatnot?
Yeah, you do sensors. And then what I just been fortunate enough to with my grandmother and my great grandmother, they was actually my I mean like my everything. So I would spend a lot of time sitting down talking to them. And my great grandmother would tell me all the heartaches and stuff that my grandfather went through coming up as a first generation out of slavery. But they still was actually, even though on paper the first generation out of slavery, they still was actually treated like slaves. You know what I mean? So
is there a story that like she might have told you or something that you can share with us?
This is what she would tell me. She didn't tell me the whole story, but she would tell me things that I guess to motivate me. And one of them, she would tell me how she would always have to be there to console him. Like when he come off the plantation, the farming and all that, working for those people. She would talk about how bruised his hands were and how bad, how his feet would be blistered and stuff like that. And she would always talk about his mental capacity. And that was really interesting to me. It was like all of those black guys, they were stripped of their manhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they really never had to call that king mentality that we used to have. Because they couldn't control their family, they couldn't control their kids, they couldn't say, well, because they like somebody could come to your house and sell your kids off, and there was nothing you can do about it. So when people strip all of that away from you and you don't have no authority at home, that means somebody else is controlling your household.
Yeah. Have you ever been down to any of those spots that in your family?
Yeah, I've been down to Faison, North Carolina. I've been to Wilmington. I actually been down what they call a place called Armour, East Arcadia. I've been down there. I've been to Lumberton, but I haven't got down to Georgia in that area yet.
Did you cry?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, I didn't really cry, but I'm gonna tell you what really, this how I did. When I went down to a place called Armour and I talked to what they called his name was AC Porter, and he would tell me he stayed in the same old house that they growed up in, and I would just sit there, and my mind would be thinking about what kind of mentality would keep you going, what drives you to keep going every day, knowing what you're going to face every morning. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to be a very special individual to not break down and not give up.
Yeah. And so you got an interesting story that you want to tell us about one of those guys that I guess just got so frustrated he found a way to get his freedom.
Yeah.
What's the story?
Well, the story is about Henry Brown. They call him Henry Box Brown. Actually, he was born in Louisa County, and that's why I want to talk about right where I lived at. He was born in 1815, and the plantation was called Hermitage Plantation. And at around age 15, the story goes that they had sent him to Richmond, Virginia, to work at a tobacco factory, which is closed down now, but the factory is still there. So that's, like I said, it's about 40 minutes from Louisa. So in the midst of him working there, and not to make it too long, they was actually blackmailing him that they was going to take care of his family because he had a wife and 3 kids at the time. That they was taking the money he was making at the tobacco factory, he had to pay them, the slave owners, for his wife and kids staying at a plantation that was next door to the one he was working at. He was a slave owner. So and his wife name was Nasty. So to make it a little more clear, it's like you a slave, you're not getting paid on your farm, on your plantation you working. They hire you out to a factory in Richmond, which the slave owner is getting paid. Now, the factory pays you X amount of pennies on the dollar.
Right.
The slave owner next door that has your family tells you as long as you give them your money, they'll take care of your family. Okay? So as the story goes, he couldn't maintain the contract to take with the other slave owners. So they sold his wife, 3 kids, and at the time he was having a 4th child. So they made him stand outside with other people, and they sold his wife, his children, and 350 more slaves in chains. So you imagine you standing there and you watch your wife, your children, and 350 other slaves march by you in chains to be sold off to another.
So he saw them sell her?
Yeah, he was standing there. He was standing there. And they sold him off to a plantation in North Carolina.
So he figured I might not never see him again.
Yes, indeed. That's what he was thinking. They was gone for good. And it was amazing to me how you can be a slave and not get paid, and they rent you out to work somewhere. And then when you work at the place, at the factory, another slave owner that's got your family makes you pay them to house your family that's working for them for free. Probably as about a month of mourning, and after lost his family and the children, that's when he made his mind up to escape. So when he made his mind up to escape, he got with it was a man named Mr. Samuel Smith, was a white guy, and a Mr. James Smith was a free black man. So he was connected with those guys, and he came up with the scheme to mail himself to freedom. So what he did, he got the slave, Mr. Smith, both of them named Mr. Smith. They built a box that was so he can get inside of it and ship himself to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, because at that time Philadelphia was a free place.
Right.
And his journey was about 27 hours to get him there. So all he packed was, as his story goes, 1 bladder of water and a few biscuits for a 27-hour trip. And they had on the box, it had this side up, so he wouldn't be turned upside down.
Right.
And they had dry goods on it, So that's how he actually shipped himself to Philadelphia. But Mr. Brown was 5'8". Well, he was 200 pounds. So you imagine a 5'8" guy getting in a box that was only like 3 foot by 2.5 wide, but he got it. He made sure he got himself in that box to get to freedom.
Wow. So then so they take the box where to get it shipped? How does the shipping process go?
See, Richmond, Virginia, because he was working in Richmond. So the slave master knew he had to go to Richmond. You see what I mean? So he had to pass to go to Richmond. So that got him off the plantation. So they made a plan. So once he got to Richmond, they were going to ship him off from there to Philadelphia.
So they took the box to, what's the shipping? They put him on a boat?
Yeah, it's on the boat. Yes, sir, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was on a boat, and they shipped him on a boat there. But the story goes in his book, he went from a boat, then sometime he was on a carriage, like a horse and buggy, and he went through different evolutions to get to Philadelphia. So one of the part of the story he tells, he said that when they were transporting from the boat to another carrier, they turned the box upside down.
Right.
So when he was upside down, he said he could feel the blood rushing to his head.
Right.
And he said he didn't think he was gonna make it. And he said what happened to him, it was 2 white guys on the ship, and they wanted a place to sit down. So they flipped the box over and saw the sign. Yep. So they turned it right side up and they sat on the box. Yeah. And that's what flipped him back over.
Yeah. That's what I got in my book, everybody. That's what I got. So he makes it to Philadelphia, and then what happens?
So when he makes it to Philadelphia, the first thing he got out, he said, "Good morning, gentlemen." Then he started quoting a verse from the Bible, and about how great it was to be there. And I'm trying to remember that verse from the Bible. It just eludes me right now. Yeah. But that's what he was saying when he got out, when he jumped out the box. But when he got to Philly, he continued to tell his story, and that's how he made a living telling the story about how they built the box, he shipped himself to Philly, and then he come his freedom. So he used that to create revenue for himself.
Now, if you can imagine, is this a wooden box? It's a wooden box.
It's a wooden box, and they drilled 5 holes in it for him to get air.
You think they had padding in the box?
It was it was a certain kind of cloth that they put in the box that was supposed, if you read it, you can imply it was supposed to be like to prevent like moisture and stuff from building up in the box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you imagine on a ship and you in the hull of a ship and the water's coming in and you in the hull of the ship in the bottom, it just creates moisture. So they wrapped them in a certain type of cloth, the box on the inside with a cloth. And that was.
But I guess my next question is what would somebody ship in a box like that big, that heavy during that time? Can you, I mean, you know what I'm asking you?
Yeah.
What could they have thought would have been in that box?
See, but you have to realize at that time, from my understanding, that they were doing a lot of shipping, import, I call it import-export trading, you know, like with tobacco, because it was a tobacco company. You know, so they'll ship tobacco, it might have been cotton, you know, different, and that's why they call it dry goods.
Right.
So
they could have thought it was tobacco in the box.
Correct.
Now, from what I know, once he got to Philly, the word got out, and the white people heard about him, right?
Yes, sir.
And they got mad at him.
Yes. Yeah, and because one of the things that they was really there, and if you read it in depth, I don't think it was more about him escaping that they was mad about. It was more how he was telling. He was just like floating his story, of how he beat the system,
right?
You know, and then if you really look at it, we had some black people, even like Frederick Douglass, was upset about it because once he made that escape, they were saying he shouldn't have told it because they could have helped other people escape the same way.
Oh, really? Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he told them how he did it, the black people might have said, "Hey, you should have kept that to yourself."
That's what they did. That's what they did.
And then from what I gathered, as he told the story, he almost became like a comedian or something, right?
Yeah, he started doing magic tricks and
there you go,
and different things like that. Telling the story. Matter of fact, a lot of people don't know when he shipped himself from Virginia to Philadelphia. That wasn't the only time that he shipped himself. Like when he was on tour doing his shows, right? Sometimes he would ship himself to the next venue and pop up out the box, like he did from Richmond to Philly.
Really? Okay, so.
Yeah, because he was proving that it wasn't just a made up magician story, that he really did that. So he shipped himself around a couple more times to validate that he really did it.
Okay, but then what I gathered is the people got so adamant about him because at this point there's bounty hunters that can come and get you.
Yes.
So he had to flee to Canada.
Yeah, he went to Canada because they came out with that Fugitive Slave Act, you know. And another thing that came out of his escape is that's when what they call the stud breeding, when they would take the black males and sell them around to the other plantations to breed with other black slaves, because they had come out a law that no new African slaves could come to the New World. Right. So what they were saying, you would have to be born on American soil.
Right.
So what they were doing, then they started, okay, we can't bring no new ones in, so we'll breed the ones that we already have.
Right.
And that would meet the law of no more new slaves coming in. So that's where he come out with these studs and breeding black people like cattle.
Wow. So he fled that. Where in Canada did he go? Do you know?
It was
Nova Scotia or something like that.
That's where it was at, Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia. Okay.
Yeah,
I just took a guess at that one, everybody.
Yeah, it was Nova Scotia because Nova Scotia actually became one of the largest areas that had a colonizer of black people. But it come to find later on, they found out that the land was so bad, it wasn't really that fertile and stuff. So they went back to the government and petitioned to get another area. But a lot of those 3,000, I think it was like 3,000 black people was living there. A lot of them went back to Haiti. They went to Haiti and other different places after that.
So what eventually happened to him? Did he come back to America?
Later on, he remarried, and he came back to America. But that was, they don't really give a date. Like back then, they don't really give a date of when he actually came in my research. But he actually came back to America later. But I think he moved. I think like 18 in the 1850s. He moved. That was because of that Fugitive Slave Act that he moved again.
When you say you did your research, I just did it because of Google search. Do you actually see some kind of paperwork that talks about him? What does your research look like that maybe, I mean, you see some documents with his name on it, that kind of thing?
Basically, most of it I read on his narrative that he wrote himself. Because he wrote a couple books telling about his escape and his life on the plantation and stuff. Yeah. But,
so he eventually got an education.
Yes, because it was called The Narrative of the Life of Henry Box Brown. That was the name of the book.
Yeah, you know, and everybody, that's the one thing about it. There were, and I'm gonna just, you know, for some time, circumstance, whatever. Right. There were, right, check this out. I told you I'm a historian, right, folks? There was a guy who, he was on a Confederate ship, and we're gonna talk about this eventually on the show. And he became a U.S. senator. He was on a Confederate ship. The white people would leave him and go off in the woods and play and that kind of thing like that. So one day he told his buddies, he said, next time they leave, we leaving. So he was on the ship. He ended up telling his family, meet me at the shore at a certain time. I'm coming through. I'm going to pick y'all up because I'm carjacking this ship. And he sailed to Philadelphia. I'll get you the name. That's the kind of thing that we come up with here on Strong Inspirations. Now, how did you find Henry Box Brown, other than being in your city?
Well, it's a history organization in Louisiana. They did some research on him, and they found out where he was actually living at in Louisiana, and they put up a road marker there for Henry Box Brown in Louisiana.
Really?
Yeah. They put a road marker up there, and they had like an homage to Henry Box Brown and his life and times in Louisiana County.
Yeah, good.
It's I guess what I try to look at too. I try to look at it like I told you earlier about the mentality of those guys, and I try to compare it to where we at today, and this might be a little off base, but it's where my mind carries me at.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of those people that I look at coming down through that time, their whole thing was freedom, you know, trying to get the freedom. And somewhere in the midst of at that time and where we're at now, we have been tricked more to talk about justice, trying to get justice. But justice is only just a right for a wrong action. Freedom is a way of life.
I got you. I love it.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now we're not talking about freedom. We're just talking about justice.
Yeah.
But if you have freedom, justice automatically comes with freedom. God, I can't think. Man said, he said, give me liberty or give me death. He didn't say give me justice. He wants liberty because liberty is a part of freedom.
I got you.
And just like America, to get to America, they didn't tell British they wanted justice. They wanted freedom from British rule. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and like I say, somewhere in that down the line, we got steered. We've been steered and maneuvered to hollering about justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not living free.
Yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, I wonder whatever happened to his family, his wife and kids.
To me, they didn't ever see anything else about his wife and family.
Yeah.
How
old was he when he tried that? When he did it?
Well, it just tells you that when he was 15 years old, he had went to Richmond. It don't specifically say he was 15 years old when he did it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It just tells you that the time when it was taking place and he was going to work there. So it could have been he got the job at 15, and it could have been 3 years later.
Yeah, right. So he probably was a young guy to do that though.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the other thing that we got to come to conclude is that God saved him, because when they turned that box upside down, he almost tells the story that he was minutes from dying, he believes.
Exactly. He would tell you about the blood pressure, how his nipples were swelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said he was losing the numbness in his legs, all of that. Yeah, he was close.
And 27 hours, that's a day in a couple hours.
Yes.
3 hours.
Yes.
Oh my God. God helped him.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, we come up with these unique stories on Strong Inspirations. Man. We come up with the story. Some of them I know too now, everybody, because it's in my book. Everybody, this is what we do with Strong Inspirations. We give it to you straight, no chaser.
Right.
Put a little ice in it if you think you need ice. Give you one of them straws so you can drink out of it and you can sip on it. But you got to imagine that brother was upset when he saw them sell his family.
Yes.
I mean, God, that's my wife and kids, and you taking my money and you telling me you're gonna do this and do that, and then this is what you do to me. I'm out of here.
Yeah. You just imagine
life on the line to get out of here.
Imagine seeing 350 people lined up in chains. 350.
Unbelievable. This is what we do. So come on, folks, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notifications bell, tell somebody about Strong Inspirations, watch my movie, read my book. Are you going to write a book or something like that? Are you thinking that's in your future?
I got my book is in editing right now. It's scheduled to be released on July the 18th, 2021.
Man, we're going to be there to watch it, man. We're going to get there. We're going to support you. Yes, everybody, sir. And to you, my guest, let me say this. I want you in all sincerity to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. We really appreciate it. And I know you're telling people these stories that you know.
Oh, yeah.
And so you sharing this knowledge.
Yes.
We appreciate you for doing that, everybody. We out. Have a good day.
I appreciate you too, brother.
Bye-bye.
All right.